So Supreme Court I have the data as of 1st April 2013 and 14, 67,000 in 13 and 64,000 in 14, so slight improvement. High courts had 44.4 lakh cases, which has moved to 44.8 lakh cases, so the pendency has increased. And subordinate courts from 2.69 crore has moved to 2.73 crore. So we have had 40 lakh incremental cases in subordinate courts pendency. So we are actually not moving in the wrong direction. That's a cause of worry. Now the Law Commission had come out with a report in July 2014 with an estimate of the number of judges required to get rid of the backlog. It's a very, very elementary, simple arithmetical calculation that they have done. But for whatever it's worth, I'll just give a couple of examples. So one of the better states, so they've gone state-wise, they've done for 12 states. Andhra Pradesh, I'm talking only about the larger states. What they're saying is, the higher judicial service, which is the High Court and the district courts, have 179 sanctioned seats and 43 vacancies. To get rid of backlog in 3 years, you need 41 people. So you can stay within the sanction strength, but you need to get 41 more. When it comes to subordinate judges, 661 sanctioned, 64 vacancies, 267 more judges. So still in a manageable. Now let's move to Bihar, everybody's favorite state. Sanction strength 503 in the higher courts, 201 vacancies. So we have 300 odd, just about 300 people out of 503. We need 310 more people. 310 people to clear up the backlog in 3 years. Subordinate, 984 is the sanction strength, 356 vacancies, so 630 odd people around. We need to get 1624 people. So we need to actually increase that many. The question is, where are we going to get the judges from? And that's why I am not particularly optimistic. Just to give the vacancies position to fill up the data, Supreme Court sanctioned 31, 3 vacancies, fine. High Courts 906 sanctioned, 265 vacancies. We are unable to fill existing sanction strength. So talking about amending the law to increase sanction strength of High Courts is irrelevant when you're not filling the current vacancies. District and subordinate courts, 19,000 odd sanctioned, 4,200, so more than 20% of the seats again are vacant of the sanction strength. So unless we fill this, I can't see where we are going forward. What are the standard solutions? I think everybody has been talking about it for years. Appoint more judges. Where are we going to get them from? Have special courts. So what are the special courts typically of the level of a sessions court? Where do you get the judges from? You pull them out from the district courts. So the general cases slow down, the fast cases go a bit faster. And now everybody is in a special court, so they are also pretty slow. Specialized courts to speed up, maybe a bit, because they know the thing better, maybe they can reach decisions a bit faster, but how much impact, one doesn't know. The new Gram Panchayat Act, which said, okay, let's at least settle stuff at the lower levels, simple cases, settle them off at the taluk levels. So what did they say? Every panchayat at intermediate level will have one. So there are more than 5,000 of these. You need 5,000 judges if you have one per Gram Panchayat. What are the qualifications required according to the Act for the Gram Panchayat judge? The same as that of a first-class magistrate. So why would a guy qualified to be a first-class magistrate apply for a job of a Gram Panchayat guy, where he's below the second-class magistrate, his appeal goes there? Okay, nobody's thinking through these. So these are serious issues, and I am frankly, very pessimistic. I can't see solutions unless we talk about this head on. Now, the other side of things, which is something I look at closely, which is legislation coming up. So new legislation coming up, nobody is looking at what is the impact on litigation because of this legislation. I can just tell you some of the recent ones. Give me 10 recent bills, at least 6 of them I will find issues which will lead to higher education. It's that bad. Just to give some examples. I'll come to coal at the end because I have a slightly. Land acquisition, it says private purchase, which is, as Dr. Krishnan said yesterday, willing buyer, willing seller needs R&R. Now somebody is going to go to court on that. It's going to get stuck. Juvenile justice bill, So I'm talking about, it says 16 to 18 will also be liable for heinous crimes. Fine. Now there's a very interesting part. What they're saying is, there's a second level of crime which is called serious crimes. If you're 16 to 18, you're fine, you go to the JJ system. But if you're 16 to 18 when you commit the crime, but you're apprehended after you're 21, you are treated as an adult. So I don't know how many of the fundamental rights it violates. Okay. Then we have this bunch of rights-based laws, all of which by definition mean more litigation. There's some very interesting laws. So there's a bill now which is right of persons with disability, great intent. The only one extreme example I can give from that is, from my reading of it, if one of the polling booths in a general election out of, how many do you have? A few lakhs, is not disabled friendly, the CEC can be arrested and sent to jail. That's what this bill says. Okay. So it's interesting. I don't mind the CECs being sent to jail. Okay. Now, what I'm coming down, I'll just ending is, we have been talking yesterday on state capacity. In even groups like this, whenever I go, everybody talks about executive's capacity. Nobody talks about state includes legislature, state includes judiciary. When are we going to invest in legislative capacity and judicial capacity? And especially new laws, when we see, I see the executive has lost, by and large, the ability to draft well. Parliament has lost to a reasonable extent. States, legislatures have almost zero capacity to understand the nuances and debate and discuss and find out the issues. And I will risk contempt. The judiciary, by and large, I think does not understand basics of law. Okay, and I'll just come to that with the Cole judgment, which I wanted to say. Look at the Cole judgment, beautiful judgment. It came in two parts when they cancelled. Part one ended, the last three paragraphs, pages, which is the operative part. It said that the petitioner, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, has said, keep the ultra mega power plants out of this because they bid on the basis of tariffs. So there's been the bidding, and the benefits of coal being given to them is being passed on. And therefore there's the code, is agreeing with that. Fine. Part two comes the order. UMPPs have to pay the 295 rupees per ton, whatever. Why? At least my basic question is, I'm not arguing whether judgment was right or wrong. It has to be internally consistent. Can I ask for that? So this is the Supreme Court which is doing, and you go lower, it's much worse. So what can we do about it? I think it is high time people stop getting scared of the judges. We have to, and there are journalists here, write columns, criticize the judges when the judgments are bad. You don't have to name them, but let us point out problems with the judgments, especially where there are economic issues, and point that out. If we don't address this, we are going to be here. Thanks.